What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of UFC Fight Night, talking today's 13-fight card. We got the usual crew. We got JSU. We got JBC. We got Dan 1312. I'm DC, of course. And, picking you up to lock, breaking down all of these fights. Hopefully, giving the winners as good as Dan did last week. Dan, we got to start with you. Taking down the 50K victory. I wasn't there for the show, but it was certainly there for the after party. And I got to ask, are you now the proud owner of the massage parlor that you do the shows from? No longer a client? Did you write a check after shipping the 50K from the parlor? How you doing, Dan, on this Saturday afternoon?
I'm good. No, the only thing I've bought so far is a Joanne Wood t-shirt, which I was hoping would be here by today, but it's still being printed. So
they have those? That's a thing?
Yeah, I was shocked. There's Joanne Wood merch, and I will soon be the proud owner of a Joanne Wood t-shirt. Maybe I'll wear it to 300. Maybe it'll be here in time for
Is it wood or Calderwood?
It's I actually don't know. I think it's wood.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to double check. It might actually be called.
The reason he doesn't have it yet, JPC, is because it didn't exist until he had to go to a print shop or something to get it made. So it's going to take
Dan is one of like 3 people with that shirt, and the other one's like if she's married, her husband, and like maybe her mom or dad. Like that's about it. So
it's a Joanne Wood shirt, so it's current.
It is current.
I understand your play because I'm still waiting on my Harrison Butker jersey from my NFFC win. So, JBC, we'll go over to you. How you doing on this Saturday afternoon?
Oh man, just been grinding college basketball. It's just nonstop right now. So tired, but ready for this card, even though it sucks.
Yeah, I mean nothing's more tiring than listening to Boynton in chat telling us Zach Edey's the best college player in 20 years. So I get being worn out from that conversation. JSU, what's up, man? How you doing?
Zach Edey, that big stiff from Purdue, is the best college player in the last.
Oh god damn it, JSU with your fucking echo.
Oh, not again. All right, come back to me.
All right, JSU's gonna fix the technical difficulties. We'll do this show as we've done the last few, kind of tier by tier. So we'll start with the high-end tier of pricing. We have Thiago Moises at 9,300, Mearshart 9,100, Chiasson 9K even. And we'll include, I guess, 2 more fights here. We'll make it kind of nice and even. Gregorio is 8,900 and Kulapau 8,800. We'll start with you, Dan, big winner from last week. What are you looking at in this top tier of pricing fighters?
Well, sorry, I think you might have skipped over. We got Kennedy and Chukwu also.
They were in my lineup already. That's what happened. They were. They don't show up on the list if they're in your lineup.
Keeping the good plays to yourself.
Yeah, keeping the good plays to yourself.
And then also Mike Davis at 9,200. But Nchukwu is the clear best play on the board. OSP, if you've watched his last few fights, he's beyond washed. I have 0 OSP, which it's pretty rare for me to fade a fighter, but I got there. I've got like 50% in Chukwu. Beyond that, I think it's Davis and Mearshart. And if you wanted to put Gregorio in there as well. So that's like my top 4 in that 9K tier.
Yeah, I think Nchukwu makes sense as the top fighter on the card. Seemed like he had a lot of hype coming into his last fight against my boy Dustin Jacoby. Got knocked out in the first round, and seems like, Dan, that, sometimes the UFC you can kind of tell by the matchmaking, right? It kind of seems like they want to get Nchukwu back on the hype train, right? Giving him a total can and OSP. Is that kind of how you see that fight?
Well, he's a can, he's a name. And then also one thing to keep in mind is like Contender Series is coming up. So, we're doing a little spring cleaning today. Some of these people, you're not going to be seeing them after today. Got to make room for some of the new signings. OSP is one of them. So yeah, I'm fully out on OSP. I know JBC feels different there though.
I do.
Yeah, JBC, I saw your MMA bets for today. We agree on some, disagree on others, which will make for some good Discord discussion, I'm sure, in about 8 hours. Your thoughts here on the top tier pricing? Are you with Dan on Nchukwu being your favorite? Maybe not, I guess, if you're on OSP a little bit. I'm sure you have plenty of Nchukwu as well. Your thoughts here on this top pricing tier?
I agree. Nchukwu is the best play. I mean, a minus 330 inside the distance is very, very likely to get a KO. The only issue there, I think, is, I think the volume's going to be low. OSP is pretty good at keeping distance. And I think that even if Nchukwu gets a knockout, it may not be enough as far from a DFS standpoint. And from a betting standpoint, I mean, OSP at 500 and at plus 700 inside the distance, he can always snatch a submission. It's not like Nchukwu is some like elite grappler or some shit. So, I would not be shocked to see OSP get his hands around his neck and actually win. So that's why I took the plus 500. Just a crazy number. Down from there, my second favorite up top play would be Moises, because he's a lot more likely to finish inside the distance, I think, than Davis. Even though Davis is a larger money line favorite, Moises very, very live to snatch a sub very, very early in the fight. That said, Mitch Ramirez came out and said that he used to be a heroin addict, so point in his corner for Mitch Ramirez for coming back from being a heroin addict to make the UFC. Mearshart is almost the exact same play as Moises. Like, you're relying on, they're not going to rack takedowns. It's just you're relying on them getting a sub right off the bat. And, those plays, a lot of people don't like them because it's risk reward and it has to happen fast. And Dan hates them, and they're going to end up pretty low owned relative to the others up top. So I tend to go over on them, not necessarily on purpose, but just because that's how it happens. Macy, she can throw a lot of volume when she wants to. So she's always in play, but, I don't have a ton. And then, Davis as a minus 470, he could beat the shit out of Levy, but the line also seems kind of high. I'm a little confused by it. Maybe Levy's hurt or something. I don't know. So that's my take up there.
I had similar takes there. So I do like Chiasson to win the fight. I like her money line bet. I just worried, is she going to score enough for DFS at 9K? And then I like Mike Davis as well. I mean, he's looked really impressive to me. 9 takedowns in that last fight. I think he's got the potential to score really well. But I'm with you. That line did seem pretty wide against a decent fighter. So I was a little confused about that one as well. JSD, let's go to you for this top range of fights. We haven't talked much about Gregorio and Koulibaly yet. I'm kind of off those fighters. It sounds like Dan and JBC are, for the most part too. So talk a little bit about those two guys, and then obviously your ranking of the top tier fighters here.
Yeah, I'll hit on those two guys real quick. Gregorio, I actually think he's a decent play against Anliger. To me, Anliger is not really a good fighter. I think the one thing that he does is just kind of, pressure. He can go 3 rounds for sure, but I think Gregorio is just better in the stand-up, better overall, and I think he's just going to pressure him and then knock him out at some point during this fight. This dude I think he's pretty good. He seems legit to me, Gregorio. So he's the one I'd like out of him and Koulibaly. The Koulibaly fight, I think, is going to be an entertaining fight. Silva kind of brings the entertainment to the fight. It's the opposite of what you normally see in Koulibaly fights, because he's kind of a low volume guy, but Silva is the opposite. And if you didn't get a chance, because I know I don't watch any tape or anything like that, but if you didn't get a chance to go and watch Silva's last fight against Pacheco in the Contender Series, you should really go spend 22 minutes and watch that fight, because it was a fucking war. And Silva literally they just beat the crap out of each other for 22 minutes. It was awesome. But the one thing Silva does do that drives me nuts is he pressures with his hands down. So he can get hit. He is hittable, but he forces you to kind of throw, because if not, he's going to dig shots to the body. He's going to throw to the head. He's got good combinations, and he'll piece you up. He doesn't have the one-punch power to knock you out, but it's just volume. And volume will score over time, especially if you pressure, and he's, I think, 7,400. So I'm actually on the dog in that fight, which is why I'm lower on Koulibaly. But I do think two fighters that fight with their hands low are going to be forced into somewhat fighting a style in which a fun war could be brought out is a good style of fighting for DFS. So I actually like this fight for DFS a lot. And if you're on the Koulibaly side, I think you should play a lot of him in DFS where, that's not normally the case. So that's my take there. On the top range, I think Nchukwu is a good bet to finish him. I just don't know if it's going to be first round, or I don't know if it's going to be quick. He is somewhat a slow starter. If you look at his finishes, they're in the second and third round mostly in the UFC. So does he cover that 9,400? I think he wins. I think he finishes. The question is just, do you just lock him in and take the W and say, I really feel like there's no shot OSP's, taking him down and not getting finished? And if that's the case, do you just take the 90 plus points in a finish and just say, if he doesn't score me enough, I still get a win? I mean, I don't know about Dan and JBC. I know they play a lot of MME. In those situations, you guys like just lock a fighter and say, I'll take the W in that scenario? Like, Dan, you said you have 50%. JBC, what do you have for ownership? Because you like OSP as a bet, but you did say Nchukwu was the best DFS play. So what are you doing in that scenario?
I'm probably a lot more spread out than Dan. I think I'm only in the high 30s on Nchukwu. I mean, he's the best play up there. Like, it's not like there's no arguing that he could win right off the rip. And I think there's a decent likelihood for that. It's just I don't think it's guaranteed by any means. I spoke on OSP being able to maintain distance. Like, I think there's a very high likelihood that neither one of them throws a strike for the first minute, and then your Nchukwu play is fucked. So
right, exactly. That's where Nchukwu scores 90 points in a finish in the second round, and you're like, well, shit, he was 9,400. So I love that play?
Nchukwu has scored big when he's gotten the shit beat out of him at the beginning and had to come back. I think that was against Olberg, was one of his largest scores, where he ended up just having to throw crazy volume in rounds 2 and 3 in order to get there score-wise. And in this instance, like, he's going to have to get a one-shot knockout because OSP's not going to take a bunch of damage. So I don't know. It's a tough one because I don't really, I spoke on Moises and Mearshart, which would be the pivots, and they've got their own problems. So it's kind of interesting that it's so tough up there.
Yeah, I mean, like, the other guy that it feels like we're not really talking about is Moises at 9,300 as the pivot. You said him. But, like, I don't really like Ramirez as a fighter. I mean, if you look at some of his losses, like, he lost in his Contender Series fight to Prades, just got sat down with like a straight right hand. Nothing like crazy special. It was just like got pieced up. Not really that good. He kind of lost a lot in the tank after the first round. Kind of trying to get you to takedowns and stuff like that. But I don't think that's going to work on Moises. And he doesn't have fast hands. He does have power, but he's not the best striker either. So I think Moises, if Ramirez tries to go to the ground with him, I think Moises just submits him if that's the case. So I really think it's just a bad matchup for Ramirez, and Moises could either finish him standing or on the ground. So I actually like him as a pivot. I'm with JBC there. I think he's a good pivot. And then Davis is the other pivot for me. So the way I'm ranking it is probably, Nchukwu 1, Moises 2, Davis 3, Mearshart 4, and then Chason 5 if I had to rank them.
So you just, went down the list like DraftKings did.
Yep. Exactly how I'd rank them.
I was going to jump in there.
JVC, if it was easy as that for all the fights, we'd exactly know how to, go about it. If it was every fight was like that.
Yeah.
I guess we know who did DraftKings pricing for this week. JSU, guest pricer for DK. I was going to agree with you on your ranking, JSU, but I don't want to be mocked for also just going right down the list.
Go right in there.
To you.
Don't be afraid of the chalk, DC.
Yeah.
I am. I'm always afraid of the chalk. Any final thoughts on the upper tier of pricing, guys, before we move on to the middle tier?
I mean, I think we need to. The one thing we need to touch on is Kulabau. Obviously, we know he can score via TDs and whatever else. So I wouldn't be too hesitant on playing him. I think he might actually get some ownership.
Yeah, Kulabau. I haven't projected for 17%, and that's where I'm at. I'm actually really low on Silva. I usually don't take these things into account, but like he looked pretty horrid on the scale yesterday. Which
Kulabau?
No, Silva.
Silva.
And when the field is going to be getting to a dog more than they're getting to the favorite, that already to me is like I already just want to flip that. And so, you've got the potentially bad weight cut. I mean, it might be nothing, but it's a compounding thing to where I'm willing to take the shot on Kulabau up there. And unlike Moises, he's 500 cheaper. Moises could get, second round sub and score shit, which is kind of what I'm banking on because I'm super low on him.
That's kind of like a lot of these fighters, though. I talked about Nchukwu, slow starter, but like Moises, you said the same thing could happen to him. Mearshart, I could see him getting a sub, but like, what's a sub in the second round?
He's got better volume. He can score knockdowns. There are things that can happen throughout the course of the 2 rounds where he can actually fucking smash. He could get OSP on the ground and just hammer the shit out of him while the ref stands there and watches him get murdered.
Yeah,
like these things happen.
That kind of is in line with what I think it was DC talking about, just taking the win. I mean, there is some value in just taking the win because stupid shit like that can happen where they can score big. Like a lot of times you'll see it. It'll be like a chick fighter. It'll be like minus 800 but like plus 400 to finish, right? And so you're thinking, oh, they're not going to score. And then Jasmine Jezdovicius they just let her beat the shit out of the other chick for 15 minutes without like stepping in and just like the other chick is dead in the ring. Like it's like a corpse. And she's just like beating on a corpse.
That fight.
So there is some value in just taking the win.
Yeah, even for a guy like Nchukwu, like he doesn't have to be the top scoring fighter on the slate, right? If he's top 3 or maybe even top 4, still a good chance to get there as long as, of course, you got the other fighters who are the top scorers. All right, we'll move on to the next range of fighters, starting at Jafal Filo. He's at 8,700. Brian Battle at 8,600. Isaac Delgarian is 8,500. Josiane Nunez 8,400. Tai Tuivasa in the main event, 8,300. Corey McKenna, 8,200. She'll fight Jacqueline Amarim right next to her at 8K. And then we've got, we'll stop it here on the other fighter in the main event, Marcin Tybura at 7,900. We'll start with you again, Dan. I like a lot of fighters in this range, frankly. Where do you stand on this middle range of fighters?
Yeah, so the mid-range, I'm kind of – I think it looks like I'm kind of just like with the field for the most part. Sorry, who do I have the most?
Just rank them: Battle, Nunez, McKenna, Amora. You got it. You're with the field. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, no, I've got Tybura the most for sure. I've got like 60-something% Tybura. I think he wins. But after him it's Tuivasa. I'm full shoving the main event, which was like one of the main points of like the build last week. Was in my 150 was I double shoved both 5-rounders, which the field did not do. The field got to O'Malley at like 30-something%.
That was crazy.
Insane. And I was on Cheeto to win, and I still was like 20% over. So it's like, people like to try to get different by fading the main or not double shoving the 5-rounders, which there are better ways to get different in a highly variant sport.
Playing Joanne Calderwood.
Yeah, where dogs low plays hit all the time. So yeah, I'm like fully locking the main event, but definitely tilted towards Tybura. After that, let's see. I need to organize this sheet better. So sorry. Then I'm on McKenna, Battle, and Dolgarian. I'm light on Dolgarian, but that's because I haven't projected it like 40%. And I'm never going to roster a wrestler at ownership that's never been out of like the first 2 rounds. I don't even know if he's been out of the first round. I think it's first 2 rounds. But yeah. And then Nunez, we'll get to Chandler later. She's one of my favorite plays. I don't have much of Nunez. I don't think she really has any skills outside of, trying to throw bombs, which she's 5'2" and has short little arms, is going to be massively undersized. So I started the week wanting to like her, but came off of her as I dug in a little deeper.
Who, McKenna?
No, Nunez.
Oh, Nunez. Okay. I was going to say.
I actually have a piece of intel here.
That was my take on Nunez as well, man. She's tiny and she takes punishment, and man, she's going to be at a big size disadvantage. So I'm kind of with you on Chandler winning that one as a dog. Let's go over to you, JBC. Obviously, I think you disagree with us on the Nunez call, but where do you stand on her and the rest of this mid-range fighters?
Well, I do want to put out one piece of inside intel. One of our members told me that Isaac Dolgarian got that dog in him because he used to lay cable for him for $20 an hour for 4 years, and he wants to get out of that lifestyle, and so he's ready to whoop some ass today. So that was what was messaged me by our dear friend Griff.
We got the two inside information is
Griff, friend of the program,
says, and who was the former heroin addict? That's important too. So
Mitch Ramirez is the former heroin addict.
Yeah.
So Dolgarian.
Former heroin addicts are durable. They're extremely durable.
They're very durable.
He's also been to jail multiple times. Just throwing that out there too. So former heroin,
also durable,
multiple times in jail. He's good.
Yeah. So Dolgarian, I think he's getting paid 10 to show, 10 to win. So he wants that, that next contract. So I think he may come out with some hammer fists today. But 40% is kind of fucking high for that. The other guy I think is way too high in terms of his ownership is Brian Battle. I think people are just getting too fight. He's not that likely to finish. He's gonna need the volume. I don't see it. I don't like the Brian Battle play. I'm like under 20% on him. I don't like it much at all, especially when compared to Giselle Filio, who is a coin flip to get a finish and could easily get it right off the bat. And, I like that play a lot better at 8,700 Filio over Brian Battle. You guys spoke on Nunez. I love it for DFS. Throw those fucking bombs. I think she wins, and I think she wins quick. I love her. I love her as a bet. I love her as a DFS play. I think that's a great play. To touch on McKenna and Amarim, I like McKenna as a bet, and Amarim is a superior DFS play, which is, obviously contradictory, but McKenna's not finishing anybody. And so it's tough. I don't like that fight really at all. I'm only like 10, 15% on both of them. Chandler, I have a decent amount just because, there is the likelihood that she could finish because Nunez likes to fucking, do what she does. So, I definitely have her in the mix as well. I'm sorry, I'm going one fighter too long. But to touch on the main, I'm with Dan. I think Tybura wins. I think he wins pretty easily. Tuivasa is going to have to catch him. And, obviously, completely doable. But if Tuivasa doesn't catch him, he's just going to get humped for endless amount of time. And in that case, Tybura is going to score 140. And so I'm heavier on Tybura than I am on Tuivasa.
I'm on the Tybura train as well. That's three of us, me, JBC, Dan, JSU. Where do you stand on the main event? And break down the rest of this mid-range. Didn't hear much talk. I don't think. I was working on the CSV about Jafal Filo, who I think is really, really live to get an early submission in this one over Ode Osborne. So curious to hear your thoughts on him and, of course, the rest of these fighters.
Yeah, Filio, I don't know how you don't like his grappling's elite. He had Makayev in the craziest knee bar that no one's ever tapped out of in my life. I forget who was announcing, but he was like, oh, one of my buddies had a knee bar like that, didn't tap, and was never the same again. So it's insane. Like, his knee was completely bent the opposite way. It was the craziest thing to watch that no one tapped out to. Oh, I watched it again. I watched it again because I was just like, how did that even happen? Like, I just wanted to see, like,
well, Makaev's a savage, man. Like, he's not.
Well, he got up and he was
didn't even make faces while it was like there was no like face. He was just literally just like trying to kick the dude's hand, like trying to get him off his leg. It was absolutely wild. But we just saw Ode, get subbed obviously by Almabayev, who Almabayev is a really good fighter. I think that's something we saw from last week. So, that's no knock on him, but Rafael is just an amazing grappler. And I think at some point it gets to the ground, he finds a way down there. And once he finds a way down there, I think Ode's in trouble. The only thing Ode has is if he can keep it standing, he can,
let them hands, baby.
Have them hands go. But if it doesn't stay standing, he's in trouble, and he's in trouble fast. Like DC said, like if this thing goes to the mat quick, he's going to get subbed really fast.
This is one of those fights,
while they're dry and everything.
It's overly simplistic to, like these clash of styles to be like, oh, it's either going to end in a sub or a knockout.
Yeah.
This is one where I really do feel like that way. It's Osborne knockout or it's Philo sub. Like I just don't see it going any other way. It seems like you guys all agree with that.
Bet the under. The under.
Yeah, the under. I like that.
The thing with him is he's extremely hittable, and Osborne's going to have a pretty pronounced reach advantage. I'm much heavier on Osborne.
He's also wild when he throws. Like he's just kind of wild when he's on the feet. Like he really needs it on the ground.
I think he might be a little overhyped as well.
Who did we watch O'Day knock out when we were at the Colby fight? Was it Chris Curtis? Or no, that's the wrong weight class. It was somebody that was heavily favored, and O'Day knocked him the fuck out, and Dan went nuts. So he might be biased for him for that. I'm trying to remember who it was.
I'm trying to remember. Was it Vergara? No.
He didn't knock Vergara out. I don't think.
I'm gonna figure this out.
That's who he fought at 268.
Oh, what?
It might have been Manel Kopp.
I think you're thinking of Chris Barnett. That was the knockout that made me lose my fucking mind.
Yeah, that was great.
All right, well, back to the rankings here. So I do like Hoppo a lot. Battle, I'm with JBC on. I'm really low on him. I like him as a fighter. I just when we get to Lusa, we'll talk about him and why. I feel like he's the one that is going to end up winning this fight in the end. But yeah, it makes me lower on Battle for DFS. Dolgarian, I'm really high on. I think one thing we got to discuss is like everyone's same idea, which is Chris Rodriguez. Look what he did to Raul Rosas. What did he do? He just like got owned for one round and let him like just redline and gas out. And then he just put it to him in the second and third round. But like, okay, so that's going to happen to Dolgarian. This guy's never been out of the first round, which is true. All 6 wins, all by first round finish, 100% true. But he also trains at elevation. He's a wrestler. Like, I just don't.
Laid cable for $20 an hour.
Laid cable for $20 an hour.
Honestly,
he might be really good. Like, I just don't. I'm just not going to be like, well, he did it to Raul, so it's just going to happen again. Like, you can say, okay, he's never been out of the first round. That's fine. All well and good. But I'm not going with that. I'm going with who is the better fighter. I think overall, Dolgarian is the better fighter. C-Rod has very high IQ. He's not very flashy. He's not like the best at anything. I just think he's a solid fighter overall, but he doesn't do anything like crazy good. He's just good overall and smart. So if he ends up losing that first round, which I think he will lose, because if Raul Rosas took him down, I think Dolgarian's going to get him down early. Okay, that's 1-0. If Dolgarian's got one round of gas tank in him, one more round than Raul, he's winning 29-28. So I actually think this fight doesn't finish. It goes to the decision. I think Dolgarian's wrestling. C-Rod is smart enough to keep him from getting finished, but I think it ends in a decision fight where Dolgarian wins and could rack up some nice fantasy points just because of wrestling. So I just want
to check JSU real quick on, because obviously you're going to talk well of your Armenian brother, Isaac Dolgarian. So, that's
right.
That's take it with a grain of salt.
Maybe there's a little bias there. Everyone has like the same thing. It's just like, oh, we saw Raul. He literally just defended submission. Let's tell the difference too. Raul Rosas, he was trying to submit him.
Raul Rosas wanted to put on a show. He did not want to win the fight.
Yeah, Isaac Dolgarian, when he gets on top of this dude, he's gonna try and pound his face into the friggin' mat. Like he's not just gonna try and submit him and take his back. Like he doesn't need to just take his back, and that's the difference. Like Raul Rosas, he needed to take his back. He was trying to sub him the entire time. I don't think that's the case here. So I don't see it as the same fight. Maybe he doesn't have a gas tank though, and maybe it is one round or bust. I'll take my chances though at 8,500 that he can score well for DFS and a win, whether he finishes or not.
I agree with you. Dolgarian is one. I just want to touch on the bets for a second. Dolgarian and Nunes are my two biggest bets on the card. So I'm very, very much with Dolgarian. I think he fucking kills him.
I'm on the Bulgarian train as well. I know we don't have the evidence of him going deep into a lot of fights, but just watching the fights that he does have, like he certainly doesn't look like a guy who's going to suddenly gas out in the second or third round. Just like the energy that he brings. He's a younger fighter. He laid cable. I mean, I would be surprised to see Bulgarian just, turn into dust after, I don't know, 2.5 or even 3 rounds. Just a wrestler, right? Those guys typically have more endurance anyway. That would really surprise me. I'm big on Bulgarian as well. Any final thoughts? All of us, I'm certainly very low on Corey McKenna. I just don't see a lot of upside there. It sounds like you guys are on board with that. Any other big stands in this range that we want to get out there before we move on to?
I wanted to ask JSU why he's on Tuivasa.
Yeah, so I just think that Tuivasa is going to knock him out, and it doesn't need to be first round too. This guy's gone into the second round. I think he's going to finish Tybura. I think Tybura is going to try and take it to the ground. When that happens, though, this dude's got kicks. I think he's going to walk right into a shot, and Tuivasa is just going to drop him. So I really like Tuivasa in this fight. I know everyone's on Tybura. It seems like a lot of people are on Tybura here. I just don't think it's going to be one of those, on the mat, Tuivasa, yeah, if he gets him down, okay. But is he going to do that consistently for a few rounds? I just don't think that happens. I think Tuivasa's got the power to just put his lights out. We saw Jalton literally last fight own a guy for a whole round, and then the next round, what'd he do? Sloppy shot, got caught.
Curtis Blades!
It's just though, like wrestling like that when you're so big, or like grappling, wrestling, it just tires the shit out of you, even the person who's at the end of the day winning. And if you're mat returning consistently or just on top of someone it's a lot of work, you know what I mean? So it's a lot,
especially when you got pillow hands like Almeida.
That was looking really bad.
And Tybura
that was looking really bad for a minute.
You
was looking really bad for a minute.
Tybura doesn't have like the craziest power either. So like that's something like Ty is not going to be worried of what's coming back at him. He's literally just got to stop him from like grabbing a hold of him and taking him down. Like he is not worried about what's being thrown at him though. So that's good. That's a difference. And that's what Curtis Blades, I think that's what helped him. Like he was just focused on not getting taken down and staying down.
What was the live line between the first and second round for Blades and Almeida?
It was like 400.
I was gonna say at least, yeah. He got how many times did he get taken down?
Blades wasn't tired.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, look at like Tuivasa's last 3 losses. Like we can't be like, oh, he sucks because he lost to Volkov, Pavlovich, and Gon, which he knocked Gon down too. But
Tybura's got a similar like recent resume though. Like Tybura's got Aspinall. I think he also fought Sergey. Let me pull it up.
I'm just saying he's on a 3-fight losing streak.
Dan, I just want to speak on this again. Dan biased as shit because Tybura's Polish. This is, you guys gotta like lay it out for the people. It's like when Paul Craig fights. If I pick Paul Craig, like that's there's a reason for that.
It's crazy that this dude lost to Sakai. Like it's amazing when I look back at. I just always laugh whenever I see that loss. That dude is so bad. It always makes me laugh. I just don't think he's lost to Volkov and he's lost to Aspinall. So I mean, yeah, that's fine. But he went to 3 rounds with Ivanov, Romanov.
You know who beat Aspinall? Curtis Blades.
Did he though?
Yeah. He broke his leg.
All right, fine. He broke his leg.
Enough Curtis Blades propaganda.
All right, so the McKenna fight, did everyone give their take on? Does everyone like Amora?
McKenna wins and it sucks.
I'm actually higher on McKenna than Amorim. I didn't want it that way, but I like the way everything else fell, so I just went with it, which I think is just like in general for 150. It's like something Sully actually put me onto was like, yeah, I'm done just adjusting for if like 1 or 2 things are slightly not how I want them. Like I'm not going to nuke the whole fucking build when I like the rest of it just to fix those little things. Like I've made that mistake a ton, and moving on from that has definitely been like
that's one, like the build that I ended up with today. It's lower on Nchukwu than I wanted, but everything else looks so great that I'm just leaving it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it just takes one. So
right.
So I like everything.
Go ahead, Jesse.
I like McKenna too. I was just gonna say I like McKenna too here, but are we sure she's not gonna wrestle? Because like that's what she does. Like she wrestles.
Of course,
it's like the worst. It's like the worst thing you can do against someone like Amora with the grappling skills and the jiu-jitsu. But if she wrestles for 3 rounds, which Amora is someone who will like pull guard too. Don't forget that. So it's not like this girl just wants it down there. I mean, I would like McKenna. Like be way more secure with McKenna if I knew she was going to strike for 3 rounds. I just don't think she's going to do it. She likes to get girls up against the cage and then from there work the takedowns. And if she does that, she's playing into Amora's game, but she could also be playing into a nice DFS score if she does get 3 rounds of takedowns and control and doesn't get submitted. So that I just want to throw that out there because I do think that's what happens if she doesn't get subbed. She's getting 3 rounds because she's not finishing Amora, I don't think, unless it's a submission.
I do want to throw one thing out there. Steve Boynton, if you're watching, suck my fucking dick. Wisconsin just beat Purdue.
Wait, isn't Edie the greatest player ever?
You must not be watching.
I don't even believe he said that. I just don't believe it.
We got the receipts.
We have the receipts.
Basketball in like the last 10 years.
No, Boynton's talking about Edie having a reach advantage. It just don't matter. Not when you don't have that dog in you.
Yeah, the thing about Amarim is obviously like her cardio is super suspect, and like people will point to the fact that she got a late sub over Ruiz last time out. But I mean, none of these girls are like world beaters or like super good by any stretch, but like McKenna is better than Ruiz, and I feel like pretty confident in that. So I think if she can make it to the second round, she can like probably really beat the shit out of her if she super gasses.
And her gas tank was better last fight, Dan, but like she was still pulling guard in the second round. So
all right.
Not really.
Let's get to the underdogs. We'll take it down from Chelsea Chandler at 7,800 all the way down to OSP at 6,800. So we have Chandler 7,800, Christian Rodriguez 77, Angelosa 7,600, Ode Osborne 7,500, Danny Silva 7,400, Chet and Helliger 73, Pani Kianzad is 7,200, Brian Barberena 7,100, Natan Levy 7K flat, Mitch Ramirez 6,900, and rounding it out is Oven St. Croix at 6,800. I believe all these fighters are underdogs on the betting lines, Dan. We probably need one of these fighters in each lineup. So who are we getting for upsets among the cheaper fighters here? Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, one if not two. But I already spoke on it. Chandler's my favorite by a lot. I just think that she is going to. I think she has a really good chance to actually finish Nunes.
I think she's going to knock out Nunes.
She can knock her out. I think she could get once she gets her on the mat. It's like fucking over, dude. Like Nunes has absolutely zero on the mat for Chandler. Maybe I'm feeling myself a little too much from last week with the Joanne Wood thing, but yeah, I'm heavy on Chandler.
The size difference between Chandler and Nunes when they step in there is going to be enormous. I think, like just I don't know what 20 pounds, 25 pounds at least. I think.
The thing is like
between the two.
And so Chandler used to be a featherweight, but they don't have women's featherweight anymore. So it's like she's coming down. Looked fine.
Tough weight cut.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem. That didn't. I mean, she looked better than Silva did. We'll put it that way.
That's racist.
No, it's not.
JBC's pulling the tough weight cut and the racist card to defend his position on this one. He's in a good spot.
Love it. JBC's definitely feeling himself right now. How many Miller Lights are you in, JBC?
Oh, just one, maybe two.
Oh wow, I would have went way over on that. I would have been way off.
No, my face is not that red, dude.
People aren't going to want to play Chandler either. Last time we saw her, she was like trying to run out of the cage. She was getting like getting crashed on by
that was hilarious.
It was scenes, man. I mean, it was very funny.
I don't know how she didn't get cut.
I don't know how she survived that whole fight after running for her life. Like, that's what I don't know.
They talk about fight or flight. That was some real shit. She probably doesn't remember that at all.
I mean, because normally too, when we see someone run, it's like around the cage. She like beeline straight, like she was on one side and just
she ran face first into that shit.
Completely turned her back and just like ran away.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He was moving faster than she could think.
Yes. It's like when I
still
took
think
shit
she
to a
wins.
300-pound guy at the bar.
I'm with Dan though. I think Chandler does win. I think the one hole in Nunez game that we know for a fact, or at least I know for a fact, is if you take her down, she's got nothing for you on her back. She's absolutely nothing. 2 fights ago when Nunez was fighting, she was piecing up pass ball on the feet, just beating the crap out of her for like a minute straight, just pummeling her like JBC's thinking just in the face.
Do that again.
And then
like
after
this?
a minute, with one eye just fucked up, Pascal just shoots, takes her down, and then they're on the ground for like 2 minutes. And then the round's over. And then she does it again another round where she finished the round with a takedown and held her down for like the last minute and a half or 2 minutes. Once you get her down on the ground, she can be held down very easily. And I think if Chandler does, like the Chandler fight against Dumont was just killing her, taking her down and keeping her down, reversing positions. I don't think Nunez is going to be able to do that. So if Chandler was smart, she'd use the reach and the height advantage and the strength, and then just level change after a few. Because if she level changes and gets her down, that round's over and it's a wrap and it's hers. So, and we've seen her go 3 rounds too. So that's another thing that I like, at least even in a loss. So I like Chandler here. I think if she doesn't finish her, I think she wins the decision.
Yeah, 3 of the 4 of us on Chandler, and then JBC with the biggest bet of the day on Nunez. So I guess we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Let's talk about Angelosa. Like, he looked really, really good to me in these last 2 fights. He lost the first 2 coming into the UFC. I mean, Dan, we'll go to you first on Angelosa. I think he is maybe the best dog on this card. I think that might be reflected in ownership as well, which does make me a little bit uncomfortable. But, man, I see a guy who has, looked to me, power, pretty good wrestling, seems like pretty good cardio. And so it just seems like kind of a complete fighter versus Brian Battle, right, who I'm not super high on in general. This line seems off to me. But, yeah, talk to me about where you're at on Angelosa. What are his prospects for winning this fight and potentially scoring well for DFS?
Yeah, all the points you made. I'm definitely like second after Chandler. I've got Losa and Osborne. Those 2 pretty much tied. But Losa, I mean, that fight is definitely going to be a close fight. I mean, like, I think Brian Battle, like we already talked about, is like pretty overhyped. He's going to be over-owned at 32%. Losa is projecting to come in lower, and I think he wins. So I went in on Losa. I think he racks up takedowns. Battle showed us that he doesn't really have too much going on the mat, once you get him down. So yeah, pretty much what you said plus all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's live to score well via wrestling, takedowns. Yeah. Or I think he could knock Battle out as well. I think that's in play as well. So
yeah, he's got great volume too. I think, yeah, that pretty much covers it. I think maybe he might come in a little bit higher than we have him projected, because I looked at like all our cores on the site and like the cheat sheet, and it seems we're all very high on him. And when everybody's really high on someone, it's other people are like
JBC's shaking his head now. So let's go to JBC for the other side of that take.
I think Battle's too durable for him to score well in DFS. I don't see it happening. I think this fight goes to a decision. I think they both don't score.
You don't think Losa can rack takedowns and control him?
I don't think he's going to keep him down. That's just
my take.
If he doesn't keep him,
my take is this fight is going over.
Well, if he doesn't keep him down, that's actually good for racking up.
That's true.
Right, like similar to like Gamrot and RDA. It's like you can't stop being taken down. You have decent get up. I mean,
I just don't. That's a much bigger discrepancy in terms of like cardio and like skill and like and RDA being like 80 years old and like. But I don't see Angelosa being able to do that to Battle like whatsoever. Like I think this is a fight where both guys score 70.
JSU, your thoughts on one?
Yeah, I mean, I have Loso winning the fight as well, and I do think it comes via decision again here because I do think Battle's tough. But I do like Losa. I think he can get takedowns in this fight. And I think even a decision win, he can score enough to where at 7,600, you'll take it, on this card here. So I get that, JBC saying even in a win, he might not score that well. Even 75, like I know it's not what you want, but you'll take it in a W as a dog at 7,600 and just kind of move on, and take the win. So at the end of the day, you want 6 winners. Obviously, to have the optimal on like the large field GPPs, you want, the 6 optimal guys. But if you're playing in like large or higher dollar stuff, like you want 6 winners. Like you get 6 winners at the end of the day, you're going to have a decent team up there. So 7,600, I think he wins. I'm going to take the shot that he at least has the upside to score well if he does finish. So that's the one good thing about him. And even a decision, I think he has the upside. We saw it in the last 2 fights, like 115, 124. I don't think they'll be as easy because I think Battle is better than both his last 2 fighters. But at the same time, he has that upside clearly, even in a decision. So I like Losa to win. I'm lower on Battle, like I said.
One thing affecting me probably is that I bet Battle to win also.
Yes, that makes sense. I assumed you bet him, just by the way you were talking about. But you're lower on him for DFS. Right?
I don't like him for DFS. I think he wins a point fight. Stays on his feet, doesn't,
Yeah.
One thing I try to do, or trying to do better at is, like, when you're looking at the underdog fighters, like, you don't want to have to they win the fight and they also score well for what type of fighter they are, because you almost have to win a little bit of a parlay for DFS there.
Yeah.
So, Dan, are there any fighters on this card where maybe you're lower on their chances to win, but you think if they do win, it's going to be a big score? Are there any those fighters that kind of fit into that category?
Yeah. Barberena. I think Barberena, I don't think he wins. I think GM3 probably like subs him pretty quickly. I know Barberena's he's got weight class issues, health issues. Like it's not pretty at all. I was there when he TKO'd Lawler. That shit was electric. The place was going fucking nuts. But man, I think those days are pretty much behind him. And
I can't wait for Dan to say it.
Despite all that, I think he can knock GM3 the fuck out, man. I mean, he can land on him. So
you know who's nutted if they fucking win? OSP.
Oh yeah.
OSP.
He does anything. He wins.
I'll take Barberena over OSP. If you're saying which one, I'll take him. So
I'm not playing OSP. I can't get there, man. I cannot get there. I played everybody else.
So how would you guys rank this? Because I think how high owned do you have Chris Rodriguez? Dan,
15.
Rod's gonna be I think I have him at 16% owned, and I think I have him as the pick. But the more we've talked about Dolgarian, the worse I feel about it. And I just have way more Dolgarian, man. I only got to 10% C-Rod, and I was fine with it.
The guy,
like we were talking about before, his best skill so far has he can last. Which
stamina, fight IQ.
Yeah, it's 7,700. I don't love that, and I think most of my ownership, in that range, is definitely. I mean, it is. It's going to Chandler.
I just want in this range, just to touch on this before lock, the 2 guys that if they win, they have a decent both. OSP, obviously, he's probably not going to win. So it's we talk about guys that have a decent shot to win, and if they win, they're going to get there. It's O'Day and then Helger. And so, those are the 2 people you probably should be focusing on more. That and Barberena down there. Kianzad and Levy, I don't see them scoring even if they win. It would have to be a situation like last week where Dan won with a guy losing the fight. That's the only way you end up with one of them is if all the other dogs lose.
Yeah, well, and you also need the 9K range to smash.
9K range smash. All the other dogs lose. Right. Kianzad wins and gets 65. That's the way.
JBC, you probably have better tools than I do, but Raxon makes a good point here. At least according to best fight odds, pretty big spike jump on the money line on Ramirez over Moises. Have you seen that as well? And do you have any take on why that might be, or if that's something that you're taking into account? Yeah, go ahead.
So I bet Ramirez at, let's see, plus 300 at 130, and he is now plus 245. So that is a massive move. There could be something to that. I did not watch Moises on the scale yesterday. I am not privy to any information from Moises' team. I don't know, if there's something weird going on, but generally in those types of scenarios, you want to just go with what the market says. And I mean, I'm glad I already bet on Ramirez. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Any thoughts there, Dan or JSU, on that line move?
I wish I had more than 7 minutes to
adjust.
Yeah, I mean, like, how much Ramirez do you have? Like, I've got
6%.
Yeah, that's all.
I've got 5% I've got 5% Thiago. So
I'm 19% on Ramirez, and I bet him. Yeah. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
I think a lot of my ownership down there is getting sucked up by Chandler and Osborne
and OSP.
Yeah, sure. And Hellinger, I also really. I was getting more than I ended up with, but I mushed him quite a bit just because old, slow, lightweight weight class. What is it? Feather, fly,
bantam,
yeah. Bantamweight, old. No, thank you. No, thank you.
I let the line move on my exposure to Ramirez for sure. JSU, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think I like Danny Silva in this range more than you guys. You were talking about if they win, they could score well. I think Danny Silva could score well in a win. I agree with you on Osborne. I think those are the two guys for me. I think Gregorio starches and Elliger, so I don't like him as much. So, yeah, if I had to rank the 7K range, it'd probably be Losa, Chandler, Silva, O'Day. Top 4 guys for me.
All right. We got 5 minutes or so before lock here. Let's go to the betting side quickly and give out a bet or two that we are highest on today. I'll start. I like Feel to win via submission in round 1. You can get that at plus 440. I think there's a good chance that he finishes Osborne early in this fight. Really impressed with his grappling. You get that over at FanDuel. Again, that's Filo by submission in round 1 plus 440. I think he's got a decent chance to put Osborne out early, and I think that's how he would do it. JBC, we'll go over to you next. Do you have any bets that you're very high on this card?
Nunes and Dolgarian would be the two money line.
All right, Nunes and Dolgarian money lines. I'm certainly on the Dolgarian side of that one. Dan, any bets that you like on this card?
Yeah, I like taking a shot at Kulabau by KO and Kulabau by sub. Those are plus 400, plus 600, respectively. So just a little
nice numbers there. Yeah, go ahead, Dan, if you want to elaborate.
No, that's it. Just don't go nuts. They're long shots.
Sure.
It's most likely a point fight, but given Silva looking so shitty, I think it's live.
Yeah, let's all just keep shitting on JSU's guy. Let's just do it.
I'm here.
I also want to toss in.
I love that. My best bet is Danny Silva by knockout. No, I'm just kidding. I'm with DC on his submission bet. I like Filio by submission. I didn't bet him in the first round, but I do like that. And I also bet Mearshart by submission as well. I think both those guys sub. So
the other one is McKenna. I think McKenna has a very, very good bet.
All right, we got a McKenna call. James, to answer your question, it was Mitch Ramirez over Moises where the money came
heroin
in.
advantage. The heroin advantage.
The heroin. People got
worried that Mitch Ramirez. That's why the line moved. It's because he's back on it.
No, you have to be recovered for the durability.
For the durability.
Yeah,
Boss's birthday today.
Oh, baby, birthday narrative too. Let's go. Let's go. You guys are going down. Happy birthday. Imagine
more
just
time.
getting knocked out
I
on
need
your
more time.
birthday.
I need more time.
Hey, how shitty
Imagine
would
getting
it be to
wrestle fucked
get
for
knocked
25 minutes
out?
on your birthday. That's a tough birthday
No,
right
Well,
there.
some
seriously,
people like that.
How shitty would that be, though? Seriously, it's your birthday, and then you just get ragdolled for like 25 minutes.
Yeah,
Like, that was
Again,
In the apex of all places.
some people
Yeah.
like that. In my younger days, on it was like my 22nd birthday. There was a Greek chick that was about 6'4". Anyway, you can
Oh, I thought you were going to keep going.
You can use your
ABC,
imagination.
we got 3 minutes. Go ahead. I think we
You
covered
can
everything.
use your imagination there.
The internet's destroyed by imagination. I need you to elaborate.
Oh, God. Did you guys rank the bottom 7K range? Did anyone else rank their 7K?
Yeah, I mean, ranked. I think Anheliger and Ode, I think, are better than everybody else by a lot. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I've got
I'm playing Gregorio on my main team, so I hope you're wrong there.
yeah, low 7Ks. I mean, like the super low 7Ks is Barbarena. He's got
but Barbarena's definitely live and he's definitely cheap.
Yeah. And Mearshart, not the most trustworthy guy.
That's true.
Yeah, my
You
two
sound like
favorites
you have
are
information.
Angelosa, Chelsea Chandler. Go ahead, JBC.
No, he sounded like he had information as to why Mearshart can't be trusted.
Well, no, he can be knocked the
Yeah.
fuck out.
He can be knocked out.
I thought that was like
Yeah.
I thought you meant like you couldn't trust him like as a friend.
I mean, I don't know about that. It could be true.
He seems like a nice fella. I don't know.
I'm not going to defame anybody on the show.
Yeah, no defamation except for
Go for
except
it.
for you defaming
fuck
Vince St. Preux,
What, he's old.
No,
legend
OSP
of the future UFC Hall of Famer.
Guy is like 50. Yeah, why is he still fighting right now?
Don't worry about it.
I think he needs the paycheck. If you get knocked out one more time, is OSP today?
Has to
But,
be.
Oh, man,
yeah,
That's what it's got to be.
that's tough.
Maybe he just loves it for the love of the game.
Levy.
Levy Ramirez.
anyone got it? I have Bulgarian and Losa in my main lineup. Anyone else have a take on this one?
Yeah, no. I mean, he's talking Levy and Ramirez are at the bottom, so it's like that can't be a fucking choice.
Yeah,
But
that's definitely
one thing we didn't talk about with Levy is I think that Dana is pro-Israel, so that could help Levy if it goes to a decision.
I don't know if that's true. How the fuck do you know everything
If
about
JBC
Dana
says
White?
it, I'll believe it.
I
I'm
want to know
buying
how JBC knows so much about Dana White.
That's why Bilal can't get a main event. Is because he's pro-Palestine. Nathan Levy is Israeli.
Maybe that's why Makayev isn't getting the flyweight
Yeah,
shot.
yes. Or Hamzat. Hamzat ain't getting shit either.
You might.
We are
might
locked.
Hamza's.
Yeah,
Hamza's.
we gotta. JBC finishes Miller Lite. We gotta get out of here before he cracks another one and give some more wild takes and get us.
We don't need any more pro-Palestine, pro-Israel takes. Let's just get out of here.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Good luck in all your lineups. We do appreciate you watching. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't done so. And we will be back next week for the hour up to lock as usual. Good luck to Dan, JBC, JSU, and all
Fuck
of
you, Mangone.
Fuck you, Mangone. And that'll do it for this show. We're out of here.